As we first told you Thursday,
it would be extremely difficult.
A retired homicide detective sergeant who reviewed the police and autopsy report for Shirley Neumann told us he didn't think a falling body would cause this type of damage. We acquired a similar railing made by the same manufacturer named in a now dismissed lawsuit over the fall. 2 Fox 2 broadcast engineers installed it in our studio garage.
The 2 straps going underneath it.
Structural engineer Eric Marlinghouse of Quality Testing and Engineering Incorporated then designed a test. Using his 17 years of experience in the materials testing field, he designed a moving test to show the possible outcomes under several scenarios.
Right there.
Our dynamic test will include 218 pounds in motion.
Perfect.
Hard weight surrounded by thin padding to duplicate a body.
Check that.
We attach the weight to a pendulum that will swing into the rail.
Hang on.
Engineer Marlinghouse first wanted a starting point. He used an industrial scale to measure force, so we would know how far back to pull our weight from the rail to duplicate a real-life impact. He weighed himself, 220, just about like Neumann. Then he measured
Here I go.
the force of his fall.
117 pounds of force. Here I go.
His force ramming into it.
I only put 288 pounds, but roughly a quarter more than my weight.
And it hurt.
It stung, and I did hold back a little bit forward.
And kicking it.
201.
Now to test the rail. We start with the estimated force from a 218-pound person falling backwards because of one theory from retired homicide detective Sergeant Mike Guzzi.
If she were to back into this and the railing gave way and she just went over, that would explain why she's laying on the ground in the manner that she is.
I'm going to pull back the ram about 5 inches, and this should simulate her accidentally tripping and falling backwards into it.
Based on Eric's calculations, he measures the distance appropriate for our first test.
And we're good. Let her go.
Nothing. He uses a level to confirm no damage. Next, we test a theory Detective Sergeant Guzzi believes to be less likely, but still possible because of autopsy findings on Neumann's head and face. While the medical examiner did not find anything obvious on the outside, she did note hidden bruising under Neumann's skin.
Now, if she went through face first, you could see where a post could have inflicted this damage to her subdural tissue. But then again, if she went through face first, how did she wind up on her back with her head facing out? I mean, this was not an Olympic dive that she was performing here.
An attorney who was once suing the railing company believes Neumann could have created more momentum if she tripped on a threshold. Based on calculations from Eric's earlier pretest, we pull it back 13 inches, what our engineer says should duplicate 288 pounds of force.
This is the most that an individual can do by themselves.
The railing holds.
I don't think the balusters are damaged a bit, but from my angle, I can clearly see that the bottom rail has bent itself out. However, a person still would not have fallen through this.
That was worst case.
That was the worst case. That was with me launching myself at it.
Now that it's slightly damaged, we just try to break through it, pulling back our weight 36 inches.
Go.
About 500 pounds of force still did not break through. We try again, this time swinging it back as far as 2 men can pull it, 65 inches away.
Go.
We calculated the speed at 9 miles per hour.
If you had an NFL linebacker that knows how to really hit it, they might be able to do this on their own. It's the bottom rail that failed.
It's that bottom rail bend that allowed the vertical rails to break free.
Looking at this, I'd have to say what was in the pictures, that was fabricated.
Also a theory of retired Detective Sergeant Mike Guzzi, who said,
We're talking about a 77-year-old woman who weighs 218 pounds. She's got a bad back and uses a mechanical assistance to walk any distance. It's highly unlikely that she pulled off a Jesse Owens-style sprint here.
what about kicking them out? Could that create similar bends to the vertical bars?
Here I go.
He tries kicking lower.
It pretty much did what I thought it was going to do. It bent right where we found it bent from kicking it out, which is what I theorized happened to this to start with. But again, I'm just looking at what could have caused this damage, and that's what I feel is the most likely explanation.